Cause BruKnows, he knows. BruKnows, what you tryna find out? 3, 2, 1, BruKnows starts now.
Yo, yo, yo. Welcome back to another episode of BruKnows. I am sitting here at the warehouse. This is a building here in Denver. Some of my guys have put this place together, and it's a very special place. If you're out here shooting content or any kind of content, make sure you come here. This next podcast, I'm very excited. As you guys know, your boy likes fashion. He likes to dress. He likes to try wowing people with his outfits, right? And so I actually have Sam here with me. I call her LilFreshSam, okay? So Sam is a creative director for her own brand. She has a company where she's making all these crazy outfits for big stars. I think she dresses people as well, but I'm not going to butcher it. I'll let Sam get into it. So welcome. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we were having a chat here before. If you guys don't know, if you don't follow Sam, her Instagram is LilFreshSam, right? But she's kind of working on a name change lately, right?
Right.
Yeah. And
trying to ditch the little.
Yeah. Are you going straight to big, or is there like a medium-sized Sam that we got to worry about?
I think we just need to remove the label.
Yeah.
Altogether, just fresh. And then, I'll keep the Sam because that's my name, but just fresh.
That's awesome. And you've been doing it big in LA for a little bit. How long have you lived out in LA?
I've been back and forth for the past 8 years. It's crazy.
Wow.
Time flies.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. I remember you and I have actually known each other for a long time. I feel like we chatted even before you made like more of a move to LA itself, and you were still kind of, running the Denver game here.
Yes.
How has the world evolved? I know the fashion industry is kind of grown in Denver now, which is probably why you come back so often.
Definitely trying to even, be more inclusive and building resources and educational pieces of fashion for Denver right now, because Denver lacks that, and that's why.
Ooh, there's a little fly here. He was getting me on the other one. Yeah, you saw that.
Denver lacks fashion education and resources, and so I'm back to make that more accessible to everybody, whether you have a lot of money or you're in a small town like Brighton, Colorado.
Yeah. Is that where you're from?
That is where I'm from. Thornton.
Okay.
Brighton.
Thornton. Where'd you go to high school? Did you go to Brighton?
I went to Horizon.
Oh, you went to Horizon.
Yeah.
So I actually know a lot of people that went to Horizon.
I think that's how we know each other.
Yeah, just I used to wrestle with like Anthony Cortez a ton. I don't know if that name rings a bell, or like Matt. I don't know, just wrestlers.
Do you know Isai?
Isai.
Isai, he's a videographer here in Denver.
Oh, I do know Isai. I know Isai. And then there's some other people that aren't in kind of this world anymore,
Yes.
But yeah, I remember you originally like just being fresh, with your own outfits. What made you decide, and how early did you decide to turn it into a business? I mean, when did you know that like you wanted your fresh outfits to pay you instead of just wearing them,
So it's crazy. First, I decided I wanted a brand, and I decided that when I was in 8th grade, and I started working towards it. And then, high school, we get out of high school. And
what does working towards it look like in 8th grade?
So building the name,
right?
Kind of visualizing what it looks like in my head. What am I able to do here in Denver, as far as, again, resources.
Opportunities,
Yeah, and building, right? Like building the fashion that I saw was really hard here because the lack of material, the lack of fabric stores here, the lack of seamstresses and factories, sewing, just everything. So first I started my brand, and then, a couple years.
And what was the name of that brand? Was it
Infatu?
Infatu? That's the one you're still rocking with to this day, huh? That's wild.
Forever.
And what does that mean? Where did you get the name from?
It means infatuated in French.
Oh.
Probably you can relate to this, but when you're so passionate and obsessed with something, you have no choice but to make it happen.
Yeah.
And so that was for me, fashion, and Infatu was my way of explaining that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I absolutely, it's almost like the air you breathe, it's like you can't do anything else other than dive into more fashion.
Eat, sleep, and breathe.
Yeah. And it's, sometimes it's the only way you can communicate with the world is like through your creative. Cause even like, I'm very outgoing, but I don't know. I would say I'm actually like very introverted. naturally, but like the way that I'm able to understand the world is through communication. So then I like force myself to stay in that space. And I feel like maybe through your journey, fashion has helped you just understand who you are as a person, huh?
Absolutely. It's and continues to be the way I express myself.
Yeah.
And, you know, I learn myself every more and I push limits, like you said, wow people through fashion.
Yeah.
I think I'm even, you know, showing up today in the fit I am, I'm like, Denver's kind of oppressed my creativity in a way where I feel weird out here looking like dressing the way I would in LA.
Yeah.
And so I have to remind myself, like, no, it's not about what people are
Yeah,
gonna
don't
think
dress
about
down.
you. Yeah, just wear what you would normally wear and like stop dressing down because you're in Denver, you know, or
literally, because I'll go out to LA like, you look fresh today, and most people would be like, okay, well, she's wearing cowboy boots, and you know, and it's like you do stick out, but maybe that's the opportunity, right? To build your brand in a place like Denver, who's never seen somebody, you know, walking around wearing some of the stuff that you wear.
Yeah, it's definitely set me apart and helped launch my career. And so I started my brand in 2012. 12. Sorry. January 12th, 2012. And then about 3 years later, I learned that wardrobe styling was a career.
Yeah.
I had people like Trev Rich and different, you know, Amizi and different rappers out here in Denver be like, hey, can you dress me?
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa, okay, cool. And then I went to LA and did a fashion styling course for 9 days and changed my life. I got taught by the top fashion stylists, you know, in LA and people who were styling Kim and Kanye and
people that have built an industry around it. That industry just didn't even exist
in
here.
Denver at all.
Yeah.
People didn't even know what a personal stylist was. So I had to literally go out there to make a career for myself in both of my lanes, you know, as a designer and a wardrobe stylist. So now, fast forward, I've styled so many things, and that's, you know, where I make a big portion of my living is wardrobe styling.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, do you have people in LA that aren't necessarily even in the celebrity game? They just like fresh fits. And how do you organize that? Do you send them like a picture of like, you wear these together and this together? Or
so I actually
do you just go shopping on you know, with an Amex and just buy everything that you think would look good?
Above.
That's
all
awesome.
Above. I just had an attorney book me. I was in LA last week and I was styling an attorney, and since it was my first time styling him, I took him out. We shopped together. I learned what his body, you know, type was like, his color tone, excuse me, his color tones, and just learning who he was and what he was comfortable in, what he looked good in. And so it's a science, you know, I really break it down. And my goal is to have the people feeling their best. And so whether you're an attorney or you know, Leslie, the state representative who will soon be the mayor of Denver.
Yeah,
like,
that's
I
wild.
style all type of people.
Dude, that's awesome. Which one? I know you mentioned Trev Rich. He's coming on the podcast, so I'm pumped about that.
Oh, yeah.
Who was the person that you styled that you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm styling this person right now? If you had to like give it a name, you know?
Probably recently. I was on the set of Stranger Things with Netflix right before I went on tour to style The Far Side for 3 months. And it was just like a surreal feeling. I was like, oh my God, like this is my life.
Yeah.
You know? And I just remember being on the set and like just surrounded with the Stranger Things cast. And I'm like, just like, I don't know, it's just real, it's a real feeling. So yeah. And then I just keep growing, you know, I keep setting my goals higher as who I want to style, what sets I want to be on, and what roles I want to play.
That's awesome. I actually have some ideas for you. So I don't know how much you know about Hummingbird and what it is that we do, but basically Hummingbird is a LinkedIn automation software. And so what it'll do is we could build a list of people that you want to engage with, and the software will go and connect with them and start conversations and book meetings or maybe opportunities. But I've also been able to hack some other stuff and basically figure out, you know, for example, I was at a Netflix special taping, and basically I looked up everybody involved within the special taping, figured out all their emails and phone numbers, messaged all of them until eventually one person let us go backstage and meet everybody we wanted to meet. And then through that relationship, I was able to get set up with other podcaster people and, you know, some of the pioneers of podcasting, which I didn't even know was there, right? So that's one thing I love about LA. Any day you step out could potentially change your life. And, you know, the energy moves that way there. But what I also didn't like, because I lived there for like 2 months with Nate.
Oh, okay,
Nathan
yeah.
James. So shout out Nate for letting me stay at your place for a couple months. But there's also that like feeling, I think, in LA of like anybody could blow up at any second. So everybody's willing to help, but it's not like sincere help. It's like, yeah, I'll hook you up, but remember, you know what I'm saying? Which is like, it's a different type of business. It's like a social business transaction, that like, oh, you got to get this person back whenever they need it, whenever they might see an opportunity.
Yeah.
Did you like that vibe? And tell me how it is to navigate, because again, it is the city of angels, right? So
Right.
it could be a weird place to be, a lot of characters.
Very weird, man. So I'm actually spending a lot more time in Denver. I just got an apartment out here, which is the first time I'm saying this publicly. But I don't know if it's COVID or losing people or maybe just all of the above, but I hit a point in my LA living where I'm like, I just want like peace of mind. I just want genuine relationships. I want, I just care about things differently. And so LA was very superficial. LA was like very hard to make real relationships, real friendships, genuine, but I found my tribe out there and I love them and I'm really grateful for them. And I started to like just surround myself with more people like that and making myself, because it's funny, I'm an extrovert, or I'm an introvert extrovert. I know when I need to be an extrovert, but I'm very introverted. And I'd find myself like making friends with everyone and like talking to everyone, and that got really I burned out. And so
it takes a lot of energy. I think people, I noticed this because I'm always like the life of the party, trying to like be outgoing, get everybody hype. And with COVID, all of a sudden we're not around people. And then the next like social setting I got home and I was like, people are exhausting. Like, you don't notice how much energy you're putting into these conversations, or, just animating your face. Like, your face is tired, your face muscles are tired.
Or even just like, when, communicating with a lot of people in LA, like, they're like, what do you do and what have you done?
Right.
It's like, I think it's like a one-up game, and I just don't want to do that anymore. I'm like, let's talk about what were you like as a kid, or how can we build together? Like, let's really build. I'm like I'm on another, and it's funny you asked earlier, like, when did I start my first business? And I would love to hear more about your hummingbird software, but I actually was a starving artist for most of my career because I didn't value financials. I didn't value education around financials. I just love to create. Every day I woke up and that was my goal, and I did that, and I got to, a place where I could wake up and create every day. But then now I'm transitioning to a place where I'm like, okay, I'm trying to make an impact beyond my lifetime. What does that take? And it takes a lot of financial backing. So that's where my head's at, and I just needed to remove myself away from the superficialness of like one-upping and like, my focus is
like
different.
Getting it done. And it's very easy to spot, there's the people that are out there and they're there to make the connections and stuff and grow their stuff. But at the same time, there's people that talk about it and people that are about it.
Yes.
And it takes a lot of being around people that talk about it to find maybe the one person who might be about it. Right. So you go like endless nights in LA to create, a lot of times meaningless relationships that may or may not help you. And just to find the one person that's like, hey, what you actually need is this, and this is how you do it.
Exactly.
Right.
What's crazy is it's funny. I've stopped trying to make connections. I've stopped going out to parties in LA unless I needed to be there, was a part of it. And the last event I went to last week, I was supporting my team and family, the Far Side. They were performing for Red Bull dance competition. And I'm backstage because I went on tour with them, so it just felt like normal. I'm backstage sitting there with Suave, which is the tour manager, and the Far Side get off tour or off stage, and they come backstage, and you never know who you're gonna meet back there. But it was so cool because when you stop looking to make connections, you get connected with the right people. And so Amani, one of the Far Side members, just comes up and he's like, come meet him, and then he pulls over Will.i.am, and he's like, you two need to meet, and you guys need to work together.
Awesome.
So it's so cool because it was like I didn't try for that to happen. I didn't do anything.
But it came through your genuine relationship with the band with the people that, and that's what it's all about. I mean, God, I think, blesses us through those relationships. And sometimes when you stop, when you start seeking internally and not physically, when you just start, telling yourself what you need in your life, I feel like, that kind of stuff is presented instead of like trying to physically put yourself in the right place all the time. So I had Devin on my podcast, and, Devin shared a little bit of, your story. And he told me that like in the beginning, it was kind of rough for you to be able to live out this dream, right? Is there anything about that you want to share? Because I feel like the story I was told is very empowering, to see you now and the stuff that you're building. And so tell me a little bit about that, because I know there was a couple of little tragedies in there, maybe some things that happened.
It's crazy. I'm working on presenting it the best way possible because a lot of people don't know what I've been going through personally for the last 7 years of my career, and some of them would look at it as like, oh, you fell off, or you're not doing the like what the most or but like, man, I've had both my parents almost die in the last 5 years. Like my mom went through breast cancer. It was the craziest thing. I was like styling Iggy Azalea. It was one of my first biggest publications and clients, and I was on set styling Iggy Azalea, and then my mom sorry, this makes me all like emotional, and I don't want to even but yeah, like my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer, and she told me, and I moved back. And so a lot of people are like, well, you like gave up or you stopped or whatever. I kind of had to just drown out those what people thought, because people don't know, and it's hard for me to talk about it. It's hard for me to put it out there. And I know Hypnotic. He's been a big person in my life, a big great friend of mine.
Hip's
and
great.
He's always like, yo, let me make a movie about you. And I'm
Dude, like, literally.
One day, like, and that's what I mean about presenting it right, because it is powerful. And my mom got breast cancer. I went back home from LA, helped her, everything from going to doctor appointments with her to cooking her meals, and like just learning about health and how to fight cancer and like save my mom, so it was like really, really, really traumatic, and I didn't even know. And so now I'm diving into a lot of mental health, because I'm like learning like, why am I this way? But it's like I've been doing a lot of therapy and learning about like what traumatic events like that does to our brain. And so my focus has been a lot of places, but shortly after that, 2019, I'm in LA again. My dad has a near-death accident. My mom calls me and is like bawling. She's like, oh, your dad just got attacked. I found him in his blood, unconscious, and like he's in the ICU. I don't know if he's gonna make it. And ironically, I just got upset again. And I like came back, tried to help my family, and I was on my way here listening to Trophies by Drake, and he was like, I'm just trying to take care of the people, my people, and there's no awards for that. And I was like, I felt that. Yeah. Because I've always just been trying to take care of my people. And I've been going, through my journey and through chasing my dream and helping others chase theirs, I've gone through so much, and I'm learning how to correlate the two, and also just keep empowering others, because like life happens, and I don't feel bad for me. I don't want any sympathy. I just want to empower people to know that they can get through it and overcome it, and be like David Goggins, or like these incredible people who take such horrible things and turn greatness.
And I mean, the beautiful part of it, and it's life. Everybody has their journey, but like life goes on. Exactly. And whether you approach it from a very dark place, you're still gonna hopefully be here in a year or two. So sometimes it's like you have to break those things down so you don't have these like self-defeating thoughts, right? And I think you mentioned trauma, and I like looked a lot. I'm a big believer of just how the mind works, and like studying it and how I can control my mind, because if you can control your mind, it's the most powerful resource anybody has, right? The ability to take a thought, piece it together with other thoughts, and then create something, and then use that as something to get you to the next level. And so sometimes when we have trauma, right, especially as a kid growing up, a lot of what will happen are these like coping habits, right? So it's almost like a trance that your mind gets set into, that like every time you're sad, you kind of cope like this and like this and like this. And our minds, we only use like 10% of our minds. That's true. They're processing the subconscious of mostly traumas every single day. right? So most people have the same thoughts that they had the day before. 90% of people's thoughts are the same. So you get in this like traumatic coping habit of this is how I grow, right? So maybe it's like you want to accomplish this big task, and except your habits are this is how I grow. So you'll have a couple of moments of awareness where you can control your time, control your mind, use that resource, and then you'll fall back in your habits. And most people only have a couple of those moments in their life. So it's very important for you to do things like, see a psychiatrist or talk to people or understand those traumas, because the more that you can break down the habits, now every moment is now. You're not being pulled by these traumas or these bad habits. You can control every moment. So instead of having like 3 awareness moments in your life, every moment is an awareness moment. So all of a sudden you're like shifting timelines. You're not LilFreshSam, you're BigFreshSam. You know what I'm saying?
Right, exactly.
So what have you done on your own other than like, talk to people too? Are you a big reader? Or are there any things that you like study other than the fashion, obviously?
Yeah, so what you're talking about, I'm very, very fascinated with the brain, how it works and how we get stuck in these thought patterns, and how they develop from the ages of 1 to 6. Like our brains are developed in the first 6 years of how we're going to be almost for the rest of our lives, unless we're aware and change that.
Yeah.
And so it's crazy. Yeah. Like it doesn't even just stop or start with like me chasing my dream and then crazy things happening or scenarios happening. It starts with like, I had a trip, like in a way, it's funny because everybody, people commonly think like you had to live in the hood or like have a crazy, traumatic experience, but traumatic experiences all look differently for everyone, and we cannot disregard them. We cannot compare them either. And so I had a very interesting childhood. My brother kind of showed me what not to be. He was a drug addict and threw his life away very early. And so but he was my hero growing up. So I had to witness that. And that's what taught me, and that's what why I'm here right now. And that's why I advocate for the way I do, because it was like develop a champion mentality through this pain and lessons, or become the same.
Right.
And I had a crazy high school years. I could have very well ended up the same way, but did
it seem like it would end up the same way?
It's not even if it seemed, it was like I had horrible friendships that were all drug addicts. RIP to my childhood best friend. She passed away of an overdose not too long ago. And
wow.
So that's just a prime example of what I would have what
it would have been.
Exactly. And it was a crazy scenario. I had to like literally distance myself. It was life or death. I had to distance myself. Then after we graduated, there's a scenario happened, and it was like a detective literally told me like, Sam, you need to change your life right now, or you're gonna end up dead or in jail. Yeah. And so that's what changed the trajectory of my life. And that's why I read books. I do a lot of things. Gym. Go to seminars. I have really good friendships, and we talk a lot about, leveling each other up and sharing resources, and I just better myself constantly. I'm obsessed.
Yeah. Once you get on that train, it's addicting, like itself, and just self-improvement. Mm-hmm. Like sometimes I can't even have a conversation if the same thing is being said, because I'm like, let's build on this. Yeah. And it kind of becomes like a problem in the way I interact sometimes, where it's like, I'm not here to, be wild and out. Like I might step out with some friends and stuff, but if you hear the conversations, it's all productive.
I love that.
And those are all things that I had to learn myself, going to college, having a good time, being a good athlete. All of a sudden you start finding yourself in relationships or like with people that are like, yo, this guy is like deep in, like this guy got shot with a shotgun in his stomach, and he like shows us his stomach and it's all mangled from being shot, and his car got blown up, and like this dude's in my kitchen. Like I'm like, bruh. I had this moment. I'm like, why the fuck is this dude in my kitchen? And not that he wasn't a great dude, like as a person, cool guy, but that's what it brings. It's not just, hey, I love this person, like let me keep him in my life. Like, people that aren't up to the right stuff, they're going to bring consequences that you would expect.
Yeah, you are who you surround yourself with. That was my biggest lesson at, the beginning of my like first 18 years.
Yeah.
And I kept having to learn that lesson over
How old
and
are you
over.
now?
I'm 30. I'm about to be 31.
Dang, dude, you do not look 30.
I know.
You could have passed for the 18-year-old LilFreshSam. Now it's big fresh, just fresh, just
Yes,
fresh.
just fresh.
So I'm excited to actually have you back in Denver. I've been saying this for a long time. Like, Denver has a ton of creatives, a ton of people that want to be building things the way people are in LA. I just feel like they haven't met each other yet. It's everybody's like building their own little farm, and I think it's about time we start including people and even like networking of it, whatever it may be, just so people can shake hands and know like, hey, those resources down the street.
Yes.
Maybe you didn't know they were down the street all along, and it all happens by, just a community.
Yes.
What are your plans? Because I know now that you're in Denver, I'm sure you got plans for Denver, right? Like what are your plans for Denver in this fashion scene? And I think with fashion comes music and comes, the other creatives. What do you have in store?
So my next 6 months, like I'm really focused on, I'm building a collection and art pieces for Miami Basel in December. So I'm working on that. And then in addition, I'm working with people like Nikki Sworn, who runs 104.7, and people like Leslie, who soon will be the mayor, to figure out ways we can how do we build bridges? There's no fashion education unless you want to spend a ton of money. Like AI just went out of business. The Art Institute, which was the only fashion school we had here, which was ridiculously priced. Because I'm a poor Mexican, or I was a poor Mexican, my parents didn't have a lot of money. So they were like, when I wanted to go to a fashion school, they were like, that's not realistic, Sam.
Yeah.
So I want to make it accessible. Fashion education resources. I want to build some type of production system here. Like if you want a clothing line, like why can't you get it made?
Right.
You have to go to China, or you have to go to LA. Like why not Denver?
Yes,
so
that's
I'm trying
a
to bridge
perfect
that
example because help me out. I do want a clothing line. You know what I'm saying?
Let's get it.
No, but I think that's really beautiful too, because a lot of people, maybe grew up in Denver, right? Or maybe grew up somewhere in Kansas or something, and they don't have those resources. So then they're forced to go to a regular college and get a regular job. And slowly that gift that was given to them, it just fades away because eventually they have a family and now they got to keep the job, right? And so just letting people know like, hey, the goals that you have, they are attainable, and yes, most people would probably be like, hey, I'll move to LA, I'll move to New York, but if you can't do that, I mean, Denver is such a hub. There should be those resources here. And if we can figure out the way to mingle, like literally churn this pot the perfect way, I think it could be one of the biggest cities for anything.
It's the 5th largest city in the United States.
Yeah, the two guys you had over here are UFC fighters. It's the mecca for UFC. A lot of athletes are here. A lot of people move from LA to get away from like the craziness. They bring the traffic with them because it takes like an hour to go anywhere nowadays. But no, I think you're right. And everything starts with the creative, I think even if you look back and a lot of like, the Enlightenment period and all, like the Renaissance, they all came after, diseases and, things like COVID, right? And so with when COVID happened, I think everybody just hunkered down. And now all of a sudden there's this like fire to create and look for community. And we kind of got to grab that like while it's here, know?
Yes. I think that's one of the biggest things I also do too with like people like yourself and other people who are like-minded in Denver doing things and are professionals and want to be more, great. But I think inclusion and connecting and community, like you said, I want to see more of that. I don't want to see this like competition. I want to see inclusion.
So if you could break something down for me, I know there's always like trends of like dress a little bit. And, I've been seeing kind of like, not like it wasn't like an emo trend, but kind of, right? People are wearing like dress pants with like, beat up shoes and stuff. And I was seeing that in LA, but that was a while back. And now I'm seeing it here. Is there a trend that like is happening right now that people seem to be locking in on?
It's so funny. I don't know how to answer that question because I'm like the last person that pays attention attention to trends. I need to get better at that as a wardrobe stylist, but as a fashion designer, I literally did not want to look at anything else because I didn't want to be influenced. I just wanted to have like my pure ideas and execute them without any outside noise. And so still to this day, I really don't know trends. I see how Kanye dresses, and I see that always impact the way everyone else will dress, but as far as style in LA and Denver, they're very different. They say LA is 2 years ahead of Denver and New York is 4. And that's some old information. I wonder if that's changed because we are growing, We held a fashion show July 23rd this year, and I've never seen. We had over 350. I was
supposed to be there. I was in
many fresh
Hawaii, but
really?
It looked fresh.
There was I've never seen so many fresh people in Denver. It was so cool to see. So we are making the strides.
Okay. Yeah, well, I'm freaking excited. I need to get myself some infatu dress, something.
Let's get you
Hook me up because I tried my best. I am going golfing after this, so this is also the golf fit.
I like the shoes.
Yeah, thank you. Some slick, some slick. I had to get, and you probably can understand this, right? Like styling on the go. So it's like I got a bag, I got a pants. One pair of pants fits 2 outfits. One pair,
We got to talk because I have a solution. I create outfits you can wear to the gym, and then you can literally go out to dinner in them, and then maybe even hit the club if you need to. Dang. Just with quick little things. It's just all about how you pair things.
Yeah, that would be awesome because honestly, if you were to look at my closet, and my wife has clothes for sure. I have way too many clothes. Every week we're running out of hangers, and it's like we just bought more hangers, So if I could figure out a way to streamline that a little bit. And let me ask you this too. This is a good question. So I have a lot of clothes, and I maybe wore them a couple times, but I remember the time when I bought them, and it reminds me of a different time. Are you do you have a huge closet, or do you just Are you cool with getting rid of stuff? How does that work for a fashion designer?
It's so crazy. I just realized, I told my mom yesterday, I'm like, I hate hoarding, okay? Because my dad is
a hoard.
Yeah, not my thing. I'm very OCD, very clean and organized, almost to a fault. That's why I do closet cleanses.
Yeah.
But I am a hoarder of clothes, and I have a problem. I have too much clothes. Like you said, I just ran out of hangers, and I'm like, okay, I gotta go. So I just got a closet big enough to fit all my clothes, and it's just me, and
it's its own room.
It is its own room. Yeah. And I'm like, man, this is crazy. And so I realized I need to get rid of some stuff, and so I've been donating jackets for this winter for our coat drive.
Yeah.
And
who do you do the coat drive with?
I do it with a guy that I used to go to church with. His name is Dan, Pastor Dan, and he serves every Thanksgiving and Christmas on Colfax, and so we serve with him. Yeah, I'll give you the information. Yeah. So I've been collecting jackets for him, and when I give to people, it feels great. Yeah. But when I'm just giving to donate to a Goodwill, I don't like it. The feeling. I have definitely some attachment issues.
Yeah, I gotta look you in the eyes if I'm giving you my clothes. Right? No, but I really want to thank you for coming on the show. A part of what we were just talking about, the community, right? I want to get different people, because even though, for example, you're sitting here as somebody involved in fashion, I was sitting there with 2 UFC fighters earlier. The thought process is the same. The way we look at things is the same. Building, being able to understand what is my voice, what are the other people's voice? Why am I doing this? And I think, platforms like this help people understand. Maybe I've been saying it 20 times, but I have to get somebody from a different perspective, say it in a different way. And that's how people kind of connect. So
yes.
Is there anything you want to leave everyone with? The people that have followed your journey, or the people hearing about you now? What do you want to leave the fans with?
That's a good question, and I heard you ask earlier, and I'm like, what did I say? I really don't know. I thank everyone who's ever supported my journey. Shout out to Devin Blake Jr. Or Jones, I'm sorry. Man, he's amazing, and I appreciate him sharing my story with you, and thank you for having me, and thank you for building a podcast to educate and build community around. So I want to see more of that, and I'm gonna do my part to build more of that. And
Perfect.
let's get it, Denver, like 5th largest city in the U.S.
Let's get it. You heard it here first from Big Fresh Sam. Actually, just Fresh Sam because she's fresh. Thanks for coming, Sam. I'll see you soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.
See you guys on the next one. Peace.